Okay, so could everyone see my screen? Okay. All right, so hi everyone, good evening. My name is Veronica Sanchez, and today I will be introducing you all to Angela Valenzuela. Now, how many of you all have heard or read on Angela Valenzuela before? Just by a show of hands, wave. Okay, so personally, I had never heard of Angela Valenzuela, and I'm kind of glad that I got to get a glimpse of her work and passion because she's really inspiring and influential when it comes to her theory of social justice and effective and equitable education. I hope that after today's presentation, you all are inspired by her as well. So moving on to who is Angela Valenzuela. Um, Angela Valenzuela, these are just some key facts about her. She's a Stanford University graduate. She's also a professor in both the Educational Policy and Planning program within the Department of Educational Administration, and she's also in the Cultural Studies and Education program within the Department of Curriculum and Instruction. And she also serves as the director of the Texas Center of Education Policy at the University of Texas at Austin. She's the author of Subtractive Schooling, U.S. Mexican Youth and the Politics of Caring, and Growing Critically Conscious Teachers, a Social Justice Curriculum for Educators of Latino and Latina Youth. She also has an educational blog that's called the Educational Equity, Politics, and Policy in Texas. And this is the link here, which I'll provide you guys after, but it's a very good blog. It's ranked top 50 in the Texas blog, but she covers a wide range of topics that include educational topics, equity, politics, policy, and it covers, lately she's been covering a lot of the healthcare. Give me one sec. I just lost everybody. Okay, she's been covering a lot of the healthcare, and it's good reads. It's very insightful coming from someone that has the research background, education, and policy background. It's very good reads, and whenever you guys get a chance, I wish you all would take a look. So, when reading a bit about her work, I got to see how she really cares about cultural awareness. She is very passionate about social justice. And through this blog, it led me to see a video of a Gordon lecture that she did at the Teacher College, Columbia University, where she talks about the importance of ethnic studies in curriculum. And her mission that she wants to achieve is that she wants to incorporate ethnic studies in the high school, implement ethnic studies in the high school curriculum. And when reading about it, like I couldn't agree more with her, because when she discusses the importance about building their cultural background and knowledge on various races and ethnic groups, she discusses that as if we implement a deeper understanding in students that are going to transition from high school to the real world, once they have those deeper understandings and they're able to accept diversity. So I think it's relevant in today's society, and it was a good read. I really enjoyed reading it on her mission, on what she wants to accomplish. And before we dive into Subtractive Schooling, which is the book that I will be discussing, I want to read you guys a quote from the book. And when I read it, I want you guys to think about the readings we've had here in Education 3320 and let me know what you guys tie it to. So the quote says, "In a world that does not value bilingualism or biculturalism, youth may fall prey to the subtle yet unrelenting message of the worthlessness of their communities. So, Professor Graham, do you need me to read it again or?
No, I heard it. Did you, I know you asked for audience participation. Do we want your students to answer first or?
Yes, I want to see what you guys think about the quote. Like, what can you tie it to the readings that we've had here in Education 3320?
All right. Okay, Veronica Chuckle.
Hey, Ms. Sanchez. Well, I can tie it to various things like the restored justice education would be one. And another thing that I can really tie it to is the pedagogy of the oppressed. That kind of quote kind of tied into maybe being like focused on the oppressed, because it feels like, the oppressed always had to follow the oppressor's culture and what they believed and what they thought was their traditions and things like that. So I feel like it kind of ties into that. Like they didn't have their own identity. They had to kind of go based on what the oppressor was guiding them to be. So that's kind of something that I related to that book that we read.
Oh, well, thank you, Veronica. I am right there with you. I kind of tied it to pedagogy of the oppressed only because we're trying to, when it says the worthlessness of their communities, we're trying to, in pedagogy of the oppressed, we want to find out who oneself is. And then I also tied it to foundations of the young adult success when it talks about youth may fall prey into the subtle yet unrelenting message. In foundations, we learned that identity is key, and that we don't want for our youth to fall into these unrelenting messages. So, moving on to the subtractive schooling. In this book, Valenzuela collects data from students, teachers, parents, and administrators. And the data is from 1992 to 1995. And this book refers to the types of schooling that deprive the important social and cultural resources which cause the students to fail. And hint, hint, keyword deprive. And it also discusses the issues that deny Mexican students their culture and language. And I feel that this matter, like if you look at the data, 1992, 1995, and we fast forward to today, this matter is still relevant. And it's important, like reading in between the lines from this book, what I got is that as future educators, we need to be that systematic change, and we need to bring cultural awareness into the students. And we have the systems are still failing the school system is still failing the students today. So the reason why she did Seguin High School, which is a high school in Houston, Texas, it was because it was a low performing school. It had walkouts and low achievement scores, and it all turns to how important that cultural awareness is. And the data was collected from 9th and 10th graders. And this is the early adolescent stage where students are having identity issues. They're asking themselves, do they fit? On top of that, they weren't being valued or encouraged to be proud of who they were. So overall, this is just what I grasped from the reading was that she's advocating for that systematic change and how important it could be for the students. So my connections to the readings was after reading about the subtractive schooling, her theory of social justice and cultural awareness, I tied it to foundations of young adult success, a developmental framework, and pedagogy of the oppressed. Because in foundations of young adult success, we learned that this is we're as educators, we need to be there for our students and help them reach their full potential. And subtractive schooling was not doing that for the students. They were just ignoring their culture, their background, and it had walkouts. So I also tied it to pedagogy of the press, which was the banking model. I felt that the students were just getting information deposited to them, and the teachers weren't caring about their students. Um, we also learned, like in the Mr. Apari video, where he used all his resources to relate and identify with his students. He brought that cultural relevance to life to them. And at Seguin High School, that was not the case. So I know he had stated, once you get them, you got them. And the teachers there were not interacting or identifying with them. I also tied it to the liberating dialogue, which Freire states that in order to have two people create meaningful dialogue, it needs to be respectful and meaningful. And I also felt that in subtractive schooling, that was not the case as well. Like, teachers were not connecting, they weren't identifying with their students. And I felt that as future educators, we need to be familiar with the foundations of young adult success and learn more about, realize the importance of cultural awareness, and also be that systematic change that we want to be for our students so that they could have good learning experiences. And these are my references that I have, and I hope you guys enjoyed the presentation.
Veronica, you can go ahead and stop recording.
Okay.